Welcome back to Proper Madness. I'm happy to have you back if you're a returning listener. If you're a new listener, my name is Sabby, and I have a very unique perspective on mental health. I believe wholeheartedly that we can turn anything that we have been through and alchemize it into bettering ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I also get to have the wonderful chance to speak to some amazing individuals, all very unique in their own stories from all around the world. They get to tell their lives, their stories, their hardships, and how they've overcome it. It helps you feel less alone, to know and understand that the way out is always through the eye of the storm, no matter how much we like to avoid it. Grab a cup of tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee, and let's sit down and tune into ourselves so that we can learn to connect to other people. We never know the weight of our words and how they might help someone. I feel like my podcasts are becoming more like life updates on what I've been going through instead of anything like themed wise. And then whatever the theme ends up being throughout my podcast, that's kind of what I make the title end up being anyways, because it does kind of seem like whatever I'm going through and processing does have its own theme generally. And lately it's been how to like handling rejection, handling these little moments in our lives where things don't go according to plan or they don't go how we'd like them to go, and having so much control over life, over people, over situations. I talked about this on my Instagram today, but if you're watching this, it's probably Friday. So a few days ago on my Instagram, I had verbalized that I had a really hard day, um, where mentally and emotionally I had hit a bottom. I got to a point where I was experiencing so much rejection in my life that eventually it just took a toll to my mental health, and I needed to take a day to get grounded, get realigned with myself, pour into myself, and just reconnect to my body. Um, because I had felt so outside of myself after I had just kind of gained an understanding of finally figuring out how to be more present in the moment, grounded, and not so attached to all these little things outside of myself, that I had a few triggers happen in a row where I kind of had to really understand, okay, how, now that I've been tricked, now that I know what it's like to be in my body and be present in my body, and I'll explain that more in a second, because to anyone who doesn't really fully understand that, that's going to be like an alien concept to you, and you're going to always think I'm always inside my body. We're not. But after coming to that feeling and being in it, and then getting emotionally triggered and trying to figure out how do I come back to this, it was one hell of a learning curve, let me tell you. Being in your body and being present in your body means sometimes when we're living our lives and we're in our day to day, it's really easy to feel like our energy is being pulled from us, from situations, people, environments, anything, that you're not focused on the here and now. The best way to tell if you're in your body or not, for me, and it's something that I've learned a lot of people can relate to, when you take a walk outside, are you looking at the ground or are you looking up and forward at your surroundings? If you're looking at the ground and you're walking really fast, you're just kind of stuck in your head. You're not present in your body. You're not in your emotions. You're not feeling your emotions. You're not present with how you're feeling with each moment. Because about 90% of the time, our bodies are present in this moment and not necessarily feeling any sort of chaotic emotion, but our mind is creating a story that then attaches to our body. And then our body goes, oh, yeah, okay, well, we're thinking and feeling all these crazy thoughts right now. That must be how we're feeling. There were so many moments in the last couple of weeks where my mind was creating stories of how I should be feeling, but my body, I'd check into my body and go, well, okay, well, how am I feeling? Not, and if you can't see this on YouTube, I'm pointing to my head, not how I'm feeling mentally, but how I'm feeling in my body. And it was two completely different stories. My mind was trying to figure out 10 million ways of why I'm not good enough, why I should be anxious, and why something might go wrong. My body, I'd check in my body, and my body was like, hey, we're actually, everything's fine. We're chilling. I'm feeling really good. I'm actually feeling really calm. And I'm a little hungry. And then I had to trick my mind, sort of. Like I kind of had to tell my mind, hey, that's not actually how we're feeling. What are you doing right now? How I got to this point, this will be an interesting story. How I got to this point was I am big into sensuality and sensual movement. And sensual movement is not erotic movement, those are separate. Sensual movement is connecting to your senses. And Shibari is something that had piqued my interest for quite some time. There was a girl, sorry, not girl, woman, she was a grown-ass woman, that I had been following on Instagram for quite a while, and she specializes in Shibari. And I heard that she was coming to town, so I decided, you know what? She has these really cool workshops with like a bunch of people. I think I'm going to go, and I'm going to bring my best friend. At the time, was my best friend. And I think we're going to go together and go experience this. It was something that my body really wanted, but my mind created about a million stories about why it would be weird. That's one part of it. The second part of it is the best friend that I chose to go with is someone that I've been dancing with at my full feminine, awakening studio that I have been at for over a year and a half. And someone I got very, very close with. Now, at the beginning of our relationship and friendship, the way it started is when I first met her. So, fun fact, I was confused about my sexuality for a little bit when I first started dancing and being around a lot of women. There were moments in my life where I was questioning whether or not I was attracted to them. I had dated women in the past in college, and back then I was like, no, I'm straight as a pole. However, later in life, that curiosity kept coming up for me. And I was like, well, maybe this is something I need to explore, and maybe there's some shame around it because of, my cultural background and, how I look and how I show up. And sometimes people would make comments of, you look really feminine, but your personality is more masculine and, whatever. Again, stories that other people are telling me that lived in my brain. And so when I first met her, I didn't know if maybe I was attracted to her. I was like, what is this feeling that I'm feeling right now? On the other hand, though, I'm highly, highly empathic and I can feel other people's emotions. And so at first there was that curiosity, and then later, I just started like, diving deep into myself, not dating anyone, nothing like that, but just trying to understand myself a little bit more. And I started realizing very quickly that I wasn't attracted to her. There was something maybe that I admired about her, but that it probably wasn't entirely my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They were hers. And that was maybe more of what I was picking up on mostly. I'm sure still on my end, that might have been there. So as time went on, I realized, this is more platonic. And we ended up becoming really close, like really best friends, but very fast. And that's something that I've been talking about for a long time. sometimes good relationships and good things can happen really fast, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes when someone really likes being in your energy and verbalizes energy, not you, your energy, it's because you have something that they want for themselves, not out of any malicious reason, not because they're out to get you, not because they're a bad person, but because there's a part of you that they aspire to be, and that's completely okay, or that they're attracted to, whatever that case might be. So this friend and I felt refreshing that I could just be myself around someone and share my spirituality, share everything that I was thinking and feeling and experiencing. And there were no issues for a while. And then there were some moments in the dance studio that kind of highlighted to me a reoccurring theme that I had been dealing with in female friendships time and time again in my past, where if you're in a friendship that feels more like a romantic relationship emotionally than a friendship, that is something to keep an eye on. What can happen is when we go through any tough time, we go through any breakup, we go through any hurt, it's easy to latch on emotionally to someone that you feel close with in a way that's like a relationship if there are no boundaries put in place. um I would say, like, the way that this friendship was functioning felt like I was being treated almost like a romantic partner than a friend, and it felt different. And I wasn't cognizant or aware of it at first. It took me some time for it to catch up. It's something that I had kept an eye on. And so that's who I wanted to go to the Shibari workshop with, because that's who I felt like would appreciate it and would be interested in the same thing. Now it's funny because my intuition and my body were saying so many things in this friendship. Like, there'd be little pings of intuition and I'd ignore it. Again, not malicious or bad. This doesn't make anyone a bad person. Um, and some of those pings were, it felt like this person, their words were telling me, I want you to be happy. I want you to have this life. I want you to experience this, this, and this. Energy was saying something completely different. And I'd catch little subconscious comments here and there. And I'd bring it up gently, and the response was like, nope, that's not what I meant. And okay. But always, 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 when your intuition and your body is going, hang on, you have to listen. Even if it doesn't make sense currently in your 3D in that moment, you have to listen to it and you have to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? That's what I didn't do. I decided I'm not going to listen to that. I can't keep pushing people away. I can't keep, friend breaking up with people or fading friends out or taking space from people all the time. I have to figure out a way to make things work with friends, especially if I'm having, little conflicts here and there and whatever. Fast forward, we're on our way to the Shibari thing, and this is something me and her have talked about. Not this beginning portion, and that's fine. If she wants to listen to it, she can. She knows there's no ill will, and like, this is my place to speak about things. Fast forward to the Shibari thing. I was excited. We were both excited to go and experience it. And then there came a moment in time where you sit down with your partner, and one person's the receiver, the feminine, and the other is the giver, the masculine energy. And so I decided to receive first. And before you do like a 2-minute eye gazing thing. In that 2-minute eye gazing thing, immediately my body's intuition kicked in and I went, oh no, it feels like there's attraction coming from the other person to me, whether or not they're cognizant of it, that is there. And at first I was like, I'm not, I'm just not going to pay attention to this. I'm probably like reading into it. I'm probably being quote avoidant. My friends make fun of me because anytime my intuition is picking up something and I try to push someone my way, I label it as avoidant behavior. And they're like, no, no, you're not being avoidant, Sabby. Time and time again, this has been your intuition. And so I felt that energy. I ignored it. And then she, at the beginning, like you're supposed to, how do I explain this in a way that doesn't sound weird? At the beginning of it, you're supposed to comfort the person before you start Shibariing. And then we'll get into the reason why I wanted to do Shibari in the first place. Um, and so when she started, I felt I was fine. And then we only were given 25 minutes. And I had gone there. My intention with this whole thing was to learn, because Shibari is a great way to get in your body. Because truthfully, when you're tied up in a Shibari way, you can't escape yourself. You're left to just be in your own mind and your own body. And so that's why I went and I had verbalized that. I go, I would love to see what comes up for me emotionally that maybe I've been running away from because I don't feel like I'm in my body. And so my partner got way too caught up in not the tying part and more like the touching. But touching, okay, let's relax. Nothing new. Okay, don't let your minds go anywhere strange. But you got more carried up in that. Um, and it's funny because the woman that like I that was there hosting it, she sensed it. And then it got to like we only had 3 minutes left and she hadn't even used the rope. And so mentally and emotionally, I'm going, okay, I feel like my needs aren't being met because at the start of this thing, which I think is a very wonderful thing, like before you even start the Shibari practice that she is teaching, you tell someone your boundaries, intentions, desires, and aftercare. And that is something I think people need to start doing more of. Intimately, you have to. Um, and so my boundaries were crossed. My intentions and my needs and my desires were not met. And it felt like that experience was more about her and not about me. And that's something that came up in my body. And I've told her this. I think that interaction highlighted to me how often in my life I have been around people in relationships, friendships, doesn't matter, that have not met my needs, have not honored my boundaries, and have just simply really enjoyed being in my energy because they benefit off of it in some way because it makes them feel better about themselves. That is a normal thing. Because if you think about it, how often have you had a crush on someone or like someone or want to be friends with someone because you felt like deep down inside, whether you want to admit it or not, you felt like being around them would make you feel better about yourself and give you more confidence because they might have X, Y, and Z that you don't have. So you feel like if you're around someone like that or you're friends with them, it'll make you feel better about yourself. And we've all done that. I've done that plenty of times. Wanting to be friends with like the cool popular kids because I feel like if I'm friends with them, I'm going to feel better about myself in some way, shape, or form because it means I'm like them. And that's not true. So, this experience highlighted to me when I got in my body, I felt angry. I felt disrespect. I felt ignored. Those are all feelings that I have felt in past relationships, but for a lot of reasons. Because it's not always the other person's fault. My mistake, I did not set boundaries in my friendship with her at the start of it after I knew that there was initial attraction there. If I knew that there was initial attraction there, I should have done my due diligence and voiced boundaries, and I didn't. I think deep down inside, and I've told many of my friends this, deep down inside, I liked the fact and kind of knew that she was attracted to me, and I haven't been with anyone. I haven't been in a relationship in 4 years, and I just enjoyed having someone that sort of met that form of a need and connection, whether or not I was aware of it. And I have done that so many times romantically. I align myself with people who enjoy being in my company, who enjoy being with me, who enjoy being in my energy because it makes them feel better about myself, about themselves. But really, it's just serving them, it's not serving me. If I think about one of my relationships from the past, there's a very distinct moment that like comes to mind that I was thinking about. And that was this guy that I had dated, older than me at the time. This was about 4 years ago, after my long-term relationship had ended, and then I jumped into another relationship, unfortunately. Um, on my birthday, he had asked me what I had wanted, and I told him. He didn't get me a single thing that I wanted. He got me a bunch of things that he thought I would look good in. My needs were never met in past relationships. And that's what this came to show me. And that's something that I was running away from within myself. And Shibari showed me that. Um, and it also showed me like I need to start setting way more boundaries with people. Otherwise, no one's gonna know how you're really thinking and feeling, or what you want, or what you're. You need to tell people what your needs are too, or they won't know. And so, me and this friend ended up having a conversation about this. We talked about it. We discussed things. Unfortunately, after things were highlighted, and I started taking a step back and boundaries were put in place, we can't have the same friendship that we used to have because that wouldn't be fair to any one of us, right? And it sucks when that happens. It really does. But that's life. You're gonna have situations like this that come up where you have to kind of go through the growing pains of it and go through the uncomfortable moments of it in order for you to figure out what you need to learn and what there is there and how you navigate it and how you can move forward. Um, and from that point on, oh, forgot to mention, after the Shibari thing, you do have to, dang, I won't talk about her experience because I don't want to speak for another person. But afterward, what's kind of cool is you tell the other person how you felt. So I told her exactly how I felt, and that was hard for her to hear. And there were a lot of emotions, and there were a lot of things that we needed to discuss. We were adults about it. We weren't weird about it. We were adults about it. Um, and there's some things that I have said on here that I have not shared with her because, to be honest, it has nothing to do with her. It has more to do with me. And some of the things that I have learned within myself. But after that, I was so in my body that I had all those epiphanies, and I realized like I've never I've never had a safe space with a masculine energy or a masculine, man, not energy, man. Oh, PS. Obviously, I did find out I'm very straight. Like a few weeks ago, I went to Vegas and actually no, if you like 2 months ago, I went to Vegas with some friends of mine, and we did end up going to a strip club, and I got a dance, and immediately I was like, I am, nope, not into women. That's also how I found out. Shibari also just really informed me of that really quickly. Um, but I had to go through that to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's normal and okay to have attraction towards someone, but I was like, no, no, no. You know, I like my manly men. That's what I'm into. You know, I need a masculine presence. And in saying that, like, I've realized that I've never had a safe masculine space in a relationship where I can surrender and feel my emotions deeply and feel held. And I know that because after that Shibari workshop, I decided to do a one-on-one with the woman who led the workshop. And after that one-on-one, and actually experiencing Shibari itself, like the art of it, and having to sit and be with myself and my emotions, I felt so safe and so held and in my body because she knows how to hold space. She knew how to honor my needs. She knew how to honor my boundaries. I felt held. I didn't feel taken advantage of. I didn't feel, I felt safe. And so, how many times have we all probably been in environments, friendships, relationships where we weren't safe emotionally, spiritually, unfortunately, maybe even physically? And when we purposely put ourselves in situations where we know we aren't safe, we know our boundaries are being crossed, we know our needs aren't being met, and we know that it's not serving us in any way, it's serving them, we're deliberately not choosing ourself and self-abandoning. So anytime you're outside of your body, you are self-abandoning. Anytime you're running away from what you're feeling inside, you're abandoning yourself. So we'll pick people and partners and friendships and situations and environments and jobs that purposely allow us to not choose ourselves because we don't want to choose ourselves. And so you wonder why you're surrounded by all these situations where no one's choosing you, but because you're putting yourself in that situation. And after that, a lot became very clear to me. And then as the weeks went on, like I started feeling what it was like to be with myself. I was more emotionally regulated. I was more grounded. And then this week, on Monday, I had a trigger. And when I had a trigger, my normal reaction to having some sort of emotional trigger that has to do with rejection is to run, is to self-abandon, is to chase whoever rejected me for validation so that I feel better about myself. And this time, I didn't. This time, I took a day off of work and I poured into myself. And I did the things that I knew would help benefit me, that I knew would pour back into me. And then I just shifted my focus back onto myself. I went, okay, we lost ourselves there for a little bit. How do we redirect and come back? And a lot of instances have been coming up recently, like people I've dated in the past that, I reconnected with sort of like on a more friendly level, just like conversationally. I started to realize why those things didn't work out in the first place and how I just was always choosing people that were emotionally distant and never holding space for me. Choosing people long distance wise, choosing people who purposely were never choosing me. And I was holding on to these past situations for a while. I was like, yeah, you know, I wish it could have been. I wonder why I didn't. There's always a reason. There is always a reason why something doesn't work out with someone. You may not know it now, you may not know it a week from now, but you will find out. And I found out a few things recently where, like, these couple of people that I dated in the past Again, wonderful people. I don't fault people. They're great human beings. They're just not for me, and I'm not for them, clearly. Um, I kind of sat there and I went, sorry. I sat there and I was like, I am so happy that this didn't work out because you don't have the capacity to hold space for me, and you never did. And I just kept begging you to hold space for me. I just kept pleading and trying to control and trying to make myself come across a certain way or censor myself so that you would hold space for me. Because they're not capable of holding that space for me because they're not meant to. They don't meet my needs. And so we have this very silly tendency that like when something doesn't work out with someone, we villainize them. We paint them to be this ultra bad guy and that they must be a terrible person and that like they need to be condemned. No, they just aren't meeting your needs. That's it. You can have attraction with someone, you can have compatibility, you can have chemistry. But if they don't have the capability to meet your needs and to hold space for you in a way that's good for you, because for all of us it's different, let them go. It's not a match. Why? Why do we keep villainizing people that it's not a match with? Why do we keep painting a picture and telling a story about and making assumptions about someone just because they reject us, just because they break up with us, just because they do something that makes us unhappy or that hurts us? Why do people who make mistakes have to be a bad person? Because ask yourself this: how many times have you made a mistake? How many times have you broken up with someone? How many times have you told someone, hey, I don't think this is a good match? How would you feel if all of a sudden they hated you? If all of a sudden they started telling people all these lies about you, making things up so that you seem like a bad guy and you seem like a good person, so you don't have to take any accountability? In that situation with my friend, I took accountability for how I messed up. I was like, okay, well, she's doing this because I haven't set any boundaries. She's doing this because I've just been the nice guy for too long and I haven't spoken up. Sometimes, yes, someone can, you know, treat us terribly and it is all their fault. Yes, there are really crappy people out there. I won't take that away from you because I've experienced that. But there are more instances than not people who just are not a match. It's really sad when sometimes people make stuff up about you. I can't imagine, like back when I was a wayward child, teen, and young adult, what people were saying about me. You know how long I was scared to start speaking up on my platform and start just talking like a normal person and showing up and being myself because I was so scared that there were going to be people from my past coming back to like drag me through the mud. And one of my really good friends, Amanda, said something. She goes, dude, you realize you're so open and transparent about all the mistakes that you make, you can't get canceled because you'll just own it. And that just, I mean, it's sad. People get canceled for making mistakes. People get canceled for doing something wrong. People get canceled for not being perfect. Yet the people who are canceling them are human beings that have probably made the same mistakes, if not worse, in their lives. No one's actually just been able to see it. We live in just a crazy world of assumptions and cancel culture because it's easy. It's so easy. I see these sad things going around on social media about celebrities half the time where I'm like, to be a celebrity like that and to just know that people are making up lies about you behind your back all the time. But to have the courage to keep showing up as yourself and going, whatever, takes a lot of strength. Takes a lot of strength. It's incredibly admirable. And No wonder why people have PR people that have to censor what they say or what they don't say, because we live in a world where you have to be censored. You have to be censored. If you say the wrong thing, or if you call someone a different pronoun than what they actually are because you didn't know any better, you're a bad person. Silly. It's silly. It really is. We hold strangers to a really high expectation. Why? Just focus on your own stuff, you know? Anyways, that is what I have for you. To kind of end this, I know, on a different note, after I had, gone through a trigger on Monday, and I was able to like come back into my body and cater to my needs emotionally a little bit more, clarity hit me. You can't see any situation or any person clearly if you're in a triggered state of mind. You never will. It's always good to, when you are triggered by anything and you're outside of your body, find a way to come back. You don't have to run away. Take some time for yourself to get grounded, but also figure out a way like how you can respond in those triggered moments and learn to ground yourself a little bit more in the moment. That's something I'm working on, is when something upset me Monday at the gym. I was stupid triggered and sad and upset, and I was trying to find ways to ground myself and bring myself back into my body in that moment. I did an okay job, um, but I do need to learn to figure out how to do it a little more quickly. Like if I need to go excuse myself for a second, that's totally okay. But I'm gonna be faced with situations in my life, especially when I get hired at a new job, where I'm gonna need to go, oh, okay, this has triggered me. I need to come back. How do I do this quick so that I don't accidentally say or do something that's gonna hurt the other person by accident when I don't mean to? I'm just really feeling emotional. So yeah. It feels good to just kind of speak and not hold back. So thank you for listening to this. If you listened to the whole damn thing, I applaud you. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. You know where to find me. I would really appreciate it if you were to subscribe, like, leave a little comment, tell me what you liked about this, what you didn't like about it. Who knows? And I'm excited to talk more about things in my life. And I'm sorry I'm not uploading podcasts weekly. I have a lot going on. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, whatever time it is. And I'll see you on the next one. I have my little tea time cup. So like, now go out there and make some good decisions. You should go out there and make some good decisions, but I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you ever want to chat more about anything that this podcast is about, you know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and good old TikTok. And be sure to stay tuned for my Tea Time with Sabby episodes. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or whatever streaming platform you happen to be listening to this on, I encourage you to follow, like, subscribe, and rate this so that it pushes it out to whoever else might need it.